So what's today? Today is March 2nd, 2022. And we're going to talk about the potential pitfalls a lot of people fall into when getting into land investing. So I don't know how you heard about land investing. I would imagine if it was probably from a podcast or something like that. Um, this isn't something that a lot of people just kind of stumble onto without podcasting or maybe like a YouTube channel or something like that. Me personally, I found it from the Side Hustle Nation podcast. And on that podcast, I had two different people. Actually, it was two different episodes. And it was just two different land investors. And they were just sharing their story. And everything just sounded too good to be true. Like, how are you making so much money off of so little? Like, how can that be? Like, that can't be real. Or maybe it's real, but you got to be such a seasoned investor with so much knowledge and experience that only they or a person of that caliber can take advantage of such, buying something for so little and selling it for so much. Until I got into it myself, then I did it. Then I realized, oh, it is pretty easy. It's pretty attainable. And you don't got to be very talented to do it. But with that said, there will be some things that you have to be careful of. So let me be honest with you for a second. Now, I've been doing this thing for 6 years. So 6 years since hearing that original podcast, I've been doing some land investing. Again, if you know my story, I took a bit of a hiatus for part of a year, maybe closer to a full year. But in general, I've been doing it for 6 years. And even when I was doing my hiatus, I was still getting like residual income from properties I sold that were getting paid off month by month. Now, within that 6 years, I've seen a lot of ups and downs in this industry for myself personally. I've seen people come and go. I've seen people mistakenly think what is possible from what other people have told them and not actually able to open their eyes to see the bigger picture. One thing I have seen though, besides that, a lot of people trying to get rich quick. And again, if you hear about some of the fantastic claims in this industry, I can understand why it would attract that crowd, especially online. Because what's happening is people need money for one reason or another. They need something fast. They hear that, hey, I can turn this small amount of cash into a large amount of cash in land investing. And I don't need to get like a real estate license or a broker's license or anything like that. I can just kind of do it. People get into it. But then when they actually find out what the work entails, they're sadly mistaken. So here's the thing. If you want to get rich quick, that's fine, but understand it's no such thing unless you want to be a D-boy, right? If you're a drug dealer, yeah, you can get rich quick and you probably won't live very long, but still. But if you've seen anybody who quote unquote got rich quick, what happened was they actually put in a lot of work behind the scenes. They studied a lot. They actually put in a lot of mindset work, probably physical labor or physical work of some sort to kind of do the thing that they're getting good at. And then so you may not have recognized them when they were putting in work. You weren't there when they were shooting in the gym. But then when they're at that big game in front of the big crowd, yeah, now you notice them. Now you see the hard work paying off and you think, oh, it must just happen. No, that's months and months and years of preparation. Land investing is no different. So if you're expecting to jump in this, at least unaided, solo, watching a bunch of podcasts and YouTube videos and trying to cobble together information, and you're just going to make a lot of money, you're sadly mistaken. And if that's how you want to approach making money, that's fine. There's not a problem with that. It's just, this isn't the industry to do it. So you probably don't want to get into doing that. If you're actually looking to do this without having any money in your pocket, you're going to have a tough go at it. This is an investment, meaning you put money into the actual business and you get money out, a lot more money out from the actual business. That's what an investment is. You can't just walk into something with nothing to give and expect to get something in return. We're like, what about wholesaling? What about assigning contracts? Yeah, you're not gonna get rich doing that. You can make a little money here and there, but you got to hustle a lot more, and there's a lot more risk involved personally that I wouldn't want to deal with. All right, what about this? What if you're trying to do things quickly, right? You're just trying to rush through it. This ain't the business for you. So what I want you to do is think about this. How are you approaching land investing? How are you avoiding some of those pitfalls? Are you okay with somebody cursing you out because you're asking about their property? Are you okay being rejected over and over and over again looking for property? Are you okay with sending out a mailer or a text message campaign, thousands of mailers, thousands of texts, and having no prospects to get property? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with just talking to different people every day? Elderly people, people who, who love to talk your ear off, other people who don't. Are you okay with doing that every day? Are you okay with actually poring over county records and old deeds and finding out who owes what and helping people who may own the property from an inheritance, but things weren't passed down properly and helping them get that result? So are you okay with doing that type of work and learning what entails? Honestly, most people are not. It's not glamorous. It's not fun. And for a lot of us, it's not interesting. But that's what land investing is all about, because this is how you can get the properties for so cheap. You're doing things that other people aren't willing to do, and you still got to put money into it. So you got to pay for something while doing stuff that maybe other people wouldn't or not willing to do. Sure, you can use a title company, and that's fine. But for some smaller properties, it's not worth it either. But with that said, all the things I talk about, getting cursed out, sending out campaigns and getting no responses, spending money on stuff and nothing coming back, no guarantee coming back return, talking to people, all that can all be mitigated or at least made less of an issue. So there's 3 ways that I feel that you can do this. All right. First is the money mindset, the lack of investor's eye, and the lack of vision. When people are missing those things, they tend to run into the issues I talk about above, and that makes them quit before they actually get started. When you have the proper mindset, when you actually develop that investor's eye to find that untapped property or the untapped potential for property, and you have a vision of how you want to move, where you want to go, what you're doing this for, you're ahead of most people. You're ahead of most people. All right, so far, any questions? Any tips how to commercially zone land? What do you mean by tips, John Lee? Like, what are you looking to know? I mean, it's not necessarily on topic. I want to stay on topic, but if you gave me a more specific question, I may be able to help you out. Anyways, moving on. First thing we're going to talk about people with the lack of money mindset. So check this out. You will either have to have the capital or to purchase or invest in a property, or get creative to get it somehow, right? And if you do have it, you can't be afraid to part with it, because it's going to come back to you to make more money in the long run. Now, here's the thing. You got to invest. I talked about this a minute ago. Putting your money in so something can come out, putting some value into the property or putting some value into the deal so you can get a lot more out in return. If you're not willing to do that, then this is no wonder that you're having trouble. A lot of people say, oh, I can't find deals. No one's getting response. Like, no, you found deals. You just were afraid to pull the trigger. They didn't look like the slam dunk that the marketing message of someone's YouTube video or podcast said. And so you passed it up because you didn't do the research to actually do it right. And in the way you view money, you have a scarcity mindset. You're afraid to part with it. And you're wondering why money doesn't come back to you, because you don't let it go. All right. So you got to understand that. Now, just because you have to use money, you don't necessarily need to use your own money. What are some options if you don't have the capital at the moment, or maybe a property or an investment is more than what you're able to invest in? Well, you can get a funder. I got a good funder, Reed Kurtenbach. We're actually partnering together. We'll talk more about that in the future. But other investors out there looking to help other land investors fund deals. Of course, they get in a cut of it because it's their money, but they allow you to get into deals that you otherwise couldn't, and allow you to do things that will kind of open the door for bigger and better deals down the road. So you can use a funder, or you can actually do what I call the more wholesome way to wholesale, and that's selling to a person before you buy. And what I mean by that is, you have a buyer that you've sold to before, or someone that trusts you, you haven't sold to them before. You collect their payment for the property. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you have a property you're selling to that person for $20,000. Let's say you're going to buy that property for $8,000, but you don't have $8,000 to buy or to use to buy the property. So you take that 20, you get it from them, you write a contract, make sure, hey, you're getting this property. You pay for the property with the 8. You basically get to go to property from the seller to you, from you to the new owner, and you keep that $13,000. That way works well. But again, you have to have somebody who is actually trusting you, who is actually understands what the process is and is looking to actually basically be your buyer in that sense. So far, is that making sense? I want to make sure we go. Like any social concerns and dangers, do you avoid all landlocked parcels? John Lee, you're all over the place right now, bro. All right. I'll answer your questions at the end so I can just stay on topic. But yeah, I got you. Anyways, moving on. Now, if you are brand new to this business and you are looking to get started, but you don't have a lot of capital up front, that's fine. There are ways you can save money. But if you're saving money, guess what? You're not saving time. You're going to be doing a lot of manual labor. I mean, not necessarily physical labor, but just a lot of work, a lot of effort instead of leveraging tools and other companies to do these things for you. But there's a lot of things you can do, right? You can use extensive use of the county's website. So you can look people up that way, look up parcels that way, look at the GIS sites, understand the boundaries, things like that. You're going to need to do that anyways, but like when you're building a list, you're doing it for free, extensive use of certain tools, right? Google Maps will also help you understand the area because a lot of times the county websites, their GIS imagery is old, out of date. So what a property looks like it's cleared and ready to use, you look at it in Google, which is a lot more current photo from a satellite view. And next thing you know, you see it's full of trees and the road that was there at one point is completely covered up and it's no longer existing. So that kind of gives you an idea. In some places, Google Maps actually shows you the boundaries of the property. Not all places, but I've seen it in some places. It's pretty neat. You can also build your own list by, again, using the county stuff. And you can also skip trace for free. People don't know that. However, you're not going to be able to do it in batches. You got to do it one by one. Now, if you're a coder, you can probably figure out a way to use those tools that are one by one and automate that process so you don't got to do it. But you can do a lot of things for free. Now, you can also, instead of sending out mailers, you can send out text messages. I'm really big on that. Text messages are much, much, much cheaper than sending out a mailer. And you can send out a lot more text than you can a mailer for a lot less money. The thing is, you got to answer those texts. If all those people want to do deals, you got to get back to them. Otherwise, you risk your credibility. Even if you can't afford the deals now, you let them know, like, okay, that's a little, I can't do this, I can do that. You guys don't work it out. You come back to them in the future, they're going to remember you. They're going to remember that conversation. They're going to make sure, okay, last time we couldn't come to a deal, maybe we can this time. And then if their life situation has changed, maybe they'll even be a lot more flexible in their price. You don't know. All right. Now, one last thing you can do. When I first got started in this business to save money, I used to print out all the letters I used to send to people. There's a printer behind me. I used to print them all out. Me and my wife used to stuff the envelopes, and I used to get out about 100 a week. And, it sucked. Don't recommend it. But if you need to save money and you have a bunch of paper, you have a bunch of envelopes, you just need about $100 worth of stamps, and you're good to go. It's much cheaper than doing the mail. Well, maybe it's not. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So far, any questions? I mean, I know John Lee got a bunch of questions about commercial property. But yeah, okay, we good. Let's keep moving. Now, next thing I want to talk about the lack of the investor eye. When you know where a good property is, you're basically guaranteeing a good profit and a fast return on investment, right? How do you know what's a good property? Well, maybe I can answer John's question as I work on this one. Number one, there's a lot of sales activity, or at least a lot of sales interest. Now, you can see that from different websites that sell property. You can see that from just when you're actually talking to people and understanding, hey, I'm getting a bunch of offers here when you're trying to buy property. You can see that in various ways, but in general, you're going to be looking at the market itself, seeing where people are buying and selling land, how much stuff is going for, how quickly things are sold, how long stuff stays on the market. That's going to give you a pretty good idea of where the market is and how active it is. Now, when you understand that, you can understand what type of people will want a certain type of property. Now, there's a certain type of person who wants a property where they can put their RV or trailer on it, or a mobile home. There's a different type of person who wants to have many acres so they can use it for recreational purposes, which is also different than someone who wants to build a nice house by like a lakeside community. And there's other, endless possibilities of why people will want property. But either way, once you start to understand the type of person that's looking for property and what they're looking for in general, you can understand, hey, is this a market I want to be in? Is this something I can do? Is this something that's going to support the budget that I have? So yeah, sure, I can sell property in Hawaii for pretty easily and pretty quickly. But if I don't have Hawaii money to invest, then I'm wasting my time as well. Now, one last thing to talk about is when you get in an area, how easily can you find the information you need? What I'm talking about? Well, you got to look up deeds. You got to look up tax records. You got to look up liens. You got to look how to build your list easily and quickly and efficiently. Like if the county that you're working with or working in doesn't have the tools to make that easy, it may not be worth your time to spend a lot of time there. Why? Because you're going to be fighting with the information that you can get rather than just moving quickly. Now, there's ways around this. You could use other outside third-party tools like DataTree, for example. Sometimes you can use something like PropStream. They do give you a little bit of information. Sometimes they don't, but you can do that as well, right? And then once you have all that together, then you know how long can you stay in the area. Is this an area you're going to come back to and mail over and over and over again because land just keeps coming available? Or is it something that you're going to be there for a couple months and then after you've got all the deals that you can and just kind of tired of the area, do you move on? Or do you stay for a while, leave, and then come back? You'll know that if you have the investor's eye, because it's not about your feelings or emotions. It's about how much money can you make buying and selling property in a certain area. Now, since we're talking about that, let's answer John Lee's questions. All right, so first question he asked, any tips about commercially zoned land? Like any social concerns or dangers? Like what would be dangerous about, I mean, how would that be different than residential land? What dangers would you mean? What do you feel could be a danger? So ask like to rephrase that, all right? Do you avoid landlocked parcels? If not, do you try to establish an easement? Any ideas about such parcels? I typically do try to avoid landlocked parcels. And some places like Texas, you can get an easement by necessity. So that means if your property is landlocked, you can, I wouldn't say easily, but by law, you can get an easement with that neighbor so you can actually access your property. Now, what the process is besides, hey, neighbor, I need to be able to get to my property, let's, strike a deal. I couldn't tell you, but once you have that easement, then it's got to get recorded in the county. Other places where you don't have those easement by necessity laws, I don't know what that process is because I avoid them. Why do I avoid them? Well, even there's properties out there that aren't technically landlocked, but they're hard to find because the road is overgrown or the county easement has been overgrown by brush. I don't buy those either. Why? Because I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about, the property. I'm thinking about when I'm selling the property to somebody, how are they going to get to it and see it? If they're like, holy shit, I can't find this, where is it my property begin and where is it end and all that, it's just going to make the sale much more difficult. Now, if I get that same property for under $100 or something like that, then yeah, sure, why not? Take the risk. I wouldn't even call it a risk, take the, the headache, I guess. But in general, I do avoid the landlocked properties unless they're extremely cheap. And maybe the area is really good and I know the area pretty well and I can deal with it. Now, how are you finding mobile numbers of landowners? Do you get the IDs and number first? Well, when you build your list, you skip trace that list. So once people are, and this kind of goes into like using the county stuff, right? You build the list, depending on how you do it, you're going to get names, you'll get addresses of the current owners. You get that from the county. Again, if the county makes that information hard to find, maybe it's not a county you want to work in. Maybe your investor's eye tells you to do business elsewhere. But once you have a list of people who own property, vacant land, then you just get a skip trace and they'll give you the phone numbers like that. All right. So far, any questions? We good? We good. All right, cool. Moving kind of fast because I kind of got to run. But the third thing to kind of prevent a lot of the damage that a lot of people do and keep making quitting is actually having a vision. The lack of a vision, in my opinion, is probably the biggest reason why a lot of people fail in this business. Probably the biggest, because it's the underlying issue. It's the root problem of how they approach everything else. So if you don't have a vision or a plan, then how are you going to develop the money mindset and understand what you need to do with the money and move with money with confidence? If you don't have a vision or a plan, how are you going to develop an investor's eye to know how much money you need, where you can invest that money, how long that should take, et cetera, right? So without the vision and without the plan, everything else is just going to be much more difficult and you're going to be doing things randomly and random shit don't make you money. All right. So first thing you know about your vision, why are you here? Right? Why are you here? Why do you need land investing? Why do you need money? I'm going to tell you something right now. You can write this down. The same thinking and mindset that got you into this hole or to a point where you need more money is not going to be the same thinking and mindset that's going to get you out of it. You need to think differently. You need to do things differently. You need to move differently. So you may not be on, in financial ruin, in desperate times, right? You may be able to comfortably pay your bills, but you want to invest your money a little bit. But from every person I've seen that wants to do this for real, now, whether they're making a lot of money or not, they have a 9-to-5 job. It could be a high-paying job. It could be a low-paying job. But they all say the same thing. Could you guess what the same thing is that everybody wants, whether they have money or not? I'll give you a second. Give you a second. Time freedom. They want time freedom. They want to be able to spend time with their kids. They don't want to have to ask their boss for permission to go on vacation. They don't want to be able to miss any of the things, the milestones of their kids or the other family members. They want to be able to do all that. And without that time freedom, they're stuck. How do you get involved in a situation where you don't have time freedom? Well, for most of us, it's because we didn't have a plan. We only did things that we were told to do. Our parents, they love us. Our teachers, most of our teachers love us. Well, at least I assume so. Our pastors and, church leaders and community leaders and everything else, they all want the best for us. However, how many of those people are preaching to you entrepreneurship, are preaching to you investing, are preaching to you adding value to society so you can actually live the life that you want? Hell, how many of them are even preaching to you, figure out what you want with your life and how do you want to live it, right? That's the thinking that got you in this spot in the first place. Now, I'm not saying you hate your job. I'm not saying that you don't enjoy what you do. But again, if you want time freedom, a 9-to-5 job is not going to be it, at least a traditional 9-to-5 job. So the thinking that got you in this space right now was looking for land investing to kind of get you out and free you, so to speak, is not going to be what is going to help you get out and get into that area or into the thing. So check it out. Most people, as I say, give business about a plan, right? So let me guess, you need just a little money for whatever reason. You want your time freedom, etc. But then here's the thing: without the plan, they just do random actions. By a show of hands, or you could say me in the comments, whether you're watching this live or the replay, how many people try to do other quote unquote make money online things? Other side hustles, other things, right? Right now, the big thing is cryptocurrency. Before that was affiliate marketing or drop shipping with Amazon, or I don't know, maybe Kindle publishing. It's a bunch of different things that people thought they can easily walk into without putting in time of work or having any skill and think they're going to make a lot of money. And they didn't have a plan of how that was going to happen. All right. Now, what do you, before I say that, let me say this. Random actions also don't help you win long-term, because sometimes you can get lucky. Sometimes you can, but you can't predict, or you can't bank on random actions to predictably get you income month after month. You need something consistent. You need a plan. You need something to guide you so you know what you should be doing and if you're on track or not. If you're doing things randomly, you'll never know. You will never know. Now, here's the thing. When you have a clear plan, consists of a few things. One, a clear outcome. What do you want? It can't just be some money, right? In land investing, it's going to be a specific amount in general. So it's not just like, hey, I just want to make, maybe an extra 5,000 a month. Maybe an extra 5,000 a month. Well, what month? This month? 10 months from now? Next month? I don't know. It's got to be very specific. That means they also have to have a time frame on it. So if you want to make an extra 10,000 or 5,000 a month, when do you want to start that process by? How easy do you want to work to make that happen? What type of work do you want to do to actually make that money? In land investing, how many deals is that? Is that a couple of deals, buying a couple of $300 or $400 lots? Or is it one deal buying a $1,500 or $2,000 lot and just basically doing a little bit more to double your money? You have to be very specific. Now, obviously, some of those details are harder to understand until you're in it, but you still need to be as clear and specific as possible. Once you have a time frame and you understand the clear outcome, you need to have a DAP, DAP it up, daily action plan. So how much of the skills do you need to be built so you can actually do what you want? Especially, and if you need to build a bunch of skills in 2 months, well, how much time are you going to dedicate to actually learning those skills? How much are you going to sacrifice to learn those skills? How are you going to break down the task of what you have to do, whether you have the skills or not? What's your time budget per day of what you can do, or per week, so you can get stuff done? What are you tracking? What type of metrics are you looking at so you know whether or not you're actually on track or not? Don't use your emotions or your feelings here. Actually use numbers. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. They'll tell you if you're on track, if you're tracking the right things. Now, after you have your daily action plan, guess what else you need? A belief that the shit's going to work, right? You got to believe that what you're doing is worthwhile, because if you don't, that's how shiny object syndrome develops. Because I'm gonna give you another clue. You can write this down. When you first get in the land, things aren't going to go smoothly right away because you're still learning something. You're going to make mistakes. And some of those mistakes aren't going to cost you any money. It's just going to cost you time because you didn't pull the trigger when you should have. Or you didn't actually do what you're supposed to do in a timely fashion. So the deals that were potentially there went to someone else. Maybe to me. Maybe I took your deals, right? So you got to make sure that you understand that, hey, I'm doing this. I'm putting my best effort in. And any mistake should be because you're trying your best, not because you're kind of double dutching, going in, going out. Is it time? No. It's got to be for real. And then if you can do that, guess what? You also have an ejection date. If you've been working hard at this, you have a daily action plan, you've been actually putting in the work, you've been consistent with it, and things are still haven't happened by 6 months, for example, a year, then hey, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I need to do something else. But at least you gave it your all, and you actually can leave with a clear conscience knowing that you tried your best. How many of you guys bought a course and you haven't even looked at it? You saw the first lesson or two, and then after that, let it go. Like, oh, I was busy with life, the kids and this. And no. Now, once you have those things going, make sure you don't play the wait and see game, because a lot of people do that, right? This causes that half in, half out mentality. And that mentality doesn't help. It's the same thing I was just talking about, why a lot of things don't work, because they haven't put their whole effort into it. And they're trying to make whole effort money with half-ass results. You can write that one down. That was pretty good, right? The only thing they're going to do when they're waiting and seeing, they're going to watch people like me take deals that they could have taken, or people who who study under me be aggressive and go get those deals and make money. Can't do the wait and see. You got to do it for real. You got to try it. You got to make sure that you're putting your best effort in. Even if your best effort doesn't result in perfection, it's still going to give you that sweat equity. Is going to pay off if you allow it to. Now, once you understand that, you start to have your true goal, your true vision in life. Make sure you don't let any bad mindset or bad habits and mindset get in the way. Look, everything won't go smoothly, and it's not going to be from the business. Things in your regular life are going to happen. Things with your kids, with your spouse, with your siblings, with your friends, with the economy, all those things. That doesn't stop land investing, because we're always going to need land. They're not making any more of it. People always understand the value. And in fact, during a down economy, land values go up. But a lot of people make excuses of why they're not doing anything, because that sounds nicer than like, you know what, I just haven't done it. I've been sitting on the bench the whole time instead of playing in the game. But when you have a good vision, it's easier to develop that ironclad mindset. It's easier to not let the distraction stop you. It may slow you down, but they won't stop you completely. And then when the world's against you, all these things are happening, when you have that good vision and that ironclad mindset, guess what? You're figuring out ways around those issues. You was planning to do some work late at night. Something came up where you couldn't do it. Maybe you get up a little extra more early the next morning so you can get that work done. Sure, you only got a couple hours of sleep, but this is for your vision. This is for that time freedom, isn't it? One last thing I'm gonna leave you with on that one. I've noticed for a lot of people that their fears are much bigger than their vision. Their desire to actually get out of the situation isn't as strong as they say that it is. Sometimes we're addicted to our own struggle. Because they know the struggle. They know what that's like. They know what to expect. So they'll rather do that than do something new and different to have a better life. That's where the excuses come in. That's where all the other problems that I laid out above comes in. Now, hopefully you understand how, all the things I talk about, how it all fits, how you can avoid a lot of those things, because you don't worry about getting cursed at or getting rejected over and over again if you have a clear vision. You don't worry about investing your money in certain places if you have the eye, the investor's eye, so you know when a certain property is going to pay off. You don't worry about how much mailers you put out there, because you know eventually you're going to get a deal and it's going to pay for all the mailers you already just put out. Right? And you can see the different ways that a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot just because things don't look like the way they expected it to look like. And guess what? How are you going to know what it looks like? You haven't done this shit before. So with that said, I'm going to ask you 3 questions before we end this bad boy. On your money mindset, what grade would you give yourself at this moment? Be honest. There's no shame in this. We all got to start somewhere. When I first started, my money mindset was terrible. Oh, I was a cheap ass penny pincher, scarcity minded, didn't want to spend my money on nothing. Didn't help me, but that's where I started from. Let me ask you the second question. What grade do you give yourself to investor's eye? When I first started, I didn't have an investor's eye. I didn't know where to find property. I went where people told me. Whether or not it was a good idea or not, I wouldn't know until after I was in there and I was trying to make deals. And even when I was in there, I didn't have the investor's eye to recognize what made a good area versus a bad area, or what was a good area for me versus a bad area for me. I didn't know that. Where do you stand? How trained is your investor's eye? Third one, and the most important one, what grade do you give yourself on your plan and your vision? Your plan of attack, your daily action plan, your vision of why you're doing this, why this is important, what you're trying to achieve, exactly how you want your life to look once you start to achieve these things. What grade would you give yourself on your plan or your vision? Early on, I just wanted to buy a Tesla. Wasn't a great plan or vision because I didn't really have a plan. I was playing the quote unquote wait and see game. Like, well, if I try this, we'll see what happens. I still don't have a Tesla. I don't want one now. But I never made the amount of money I needed to get that Tesla. And not until I got the vision. And then like things changed for me after that. So with that said, I'm gonna end it here. If you notice that you're giving yourself some lower or mediocre grades in any of the 3 categories, we probably should have a conversation and see how I can help you do it. 15-minute conversation usually is enough. Be like, hey, so tell me what's going on. You're saying this and that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, from what you told me, it looks like this is the issue. Do you need help with this issue? Yes or no? Well, here's a plan that you can do. See if you can do it. But that's only for people who really want to do this for real. Don't waste my time. If you really want to learn this for real, you want to understand what's going on, let's book a call. I can let you know how I can help. Even if the help is just read this book. I think it will be a world of a difference for you. And now that's all you need. Or be like, hey, you need to work with me. I can show you how to do this thing, this land investing thing for real. I can get you I can help you make a lot of money. So with that said, hope you guys enjoyed this. A little bit more serious of a conversation if I wore the suit. And again, my sweatshirt was dirty. But Coach Vic signing out. Make sure you guys take care of each other and make sure you actually have a good plan and a vision. So no matter what happens and no matter what avenue you choose to make that vision happen, that it actually comes true. All right. Peace out.